Welcome to Serenbe Stories. I'm Monica Olson, and today we're talking to our neighbor, Heather Ruth. After leaving a high-stress career that left her sick and tired, Heather made her way to getting multiple yoga certifications and launching Serenbe Yoga Studio. Her journey began as a way to manage stress and gain physical strength. Listen to her story and hear how she became mom to 5 Nigerian dwarf goats.
So my goats get to, just bring joy in people's life. And I really do see a change from the time people show up to the time people leave.
Welcome to Serenbe Stories. We're so excited to have you today, Heather.
So happy to be here.
Hello, how is everyone?
Hey, Steve. Good.
So, Heather, one of the things we always want to know about people is we typically ask what their Serenbe story is. But since you're a resident, you have so many Serenbe stories. I think we start off with asking, how did you find out about Serenbe? Like, how did you find your way here?
Yeah, so I have to give that credit to my husband, to be honest, about how we made our way to Serenbe. And if you know my husband, he'd be the last person that would bring us out of the city. If you really knew him. I would intuitively be the person that would have brought us out of the city and back into the country. But so in 2015, I was working with Delta Airlines, flying around the world. And he was entering an early retirement phase from a very long career in corporate tax accounting, a career that, almost did him in just with the stress and all of that. But he purchased an investment property one weekend. Literally, I came home from flying over the weekend and I get home and some people buy a new, book, right? Over the weekend, he buys a new property. And it was a mixed use property in this place called Serenbe, which I had never heard of. And, I'm like, okay, cool. Maybe I'll get to see it one day. So we came down and visited, and it's a mixed use property. It's actually called The Nest. And in the commercial space right now is where Chat Hills Gallery now resides. So we would come down and spend some time here and just kind of disconnect and relax. And I realized the difference that we felt just being here. And we were both really kind of taken aback by that. We're both actually from small towns in Georgia. He's from about 2 hours north of here, and I'm from about 3 hours south of here. So we grew up in small towns. We're used to this kind of quiet life, of course, when we were growing up, and then adulthood hit for both of us. And we both headed to the city, careers and families and all of that. And we kind of laugh now. We say moving to Serenbe is like getting back to our roots. But with all of the amenities that we now want as an adult, it's like, getting back to the country, but even better, right? So we had that property, and we were still living in Virginia Highlands in Atlanta, just kind of coming down here whenever it was available. It was being leased or rented through the inn. And so if guests weren't there, we would come down and stay. And 2017 rolls around, and we just, we were kind of tired of the city. And we were really falling in love with Serenbe, which again was really surprising for Keith to fall in love with, being out of the city. Mm-hmm. But as he was segueing into retirement and, kind of trying to find a new identification for himself, which mm-hmm. was solely through his work for 30 years, he didn't know how to not identify through that part of his existence. Mm-hmm. We just kind of made the leap. And I'm going to be honest, had we thought about it too long, we probably wouldn't have done it. Mm-hmm. The stars just kind of aligned, honestly. Somebody randomly wanted to buy our house in Virginia Highlands. It wasn't for sale. And randomly, our favorite house in Serenbe came on the market. And, we looked at it and we were like, man, it is as great inside as it is outside, but we don't need that much space, And so we left, looking at this house and we were like, yeah, we love it, but we're trying to downsize here. That's not downsizing, And, and so maybe if some kind of price drop happens, maybe we might re-entertain. Mm-hmm. Well, the next week, price drop happens. And we just looked at each other and we were like, you know what? Somebody's trying to tell us something here, we better listen. So, we very much on a whim just moved down here, and no one, our family, our friends could believe that we were moving out of the city. Yeah. And I can tell you who we see more of now more than ever, including when we lived in the city, our family and friends. Mm-hmm. They all want to come down and visit, because who wouldn't want to visit this place? And we wake up every morning, honestly, and just pinch ourselves. Every morning, we are so grateful to be able to wake up here and like we live here. And, almost 4 years later, we're still just like, man, we get to live here.
And how long were you guys in the city? Is that where you guys met up there?
Yes and no. So yes, we've been together 21 years. When we met, I was living in Macon, Georgia, and that's where I went to school. He was living in Atlanta. A mutual friend introduced us, and we hit it off pretty quick. I continued to live in Macon for 6 years first 6 years of our relationship, and then moved to Atlanta, and he was already living there, of course. And so, yeah, so by way of Atlanta, kind of, that's where we spent most of our time together, is in the city together. So,
yeah. But you guys were deep in the city. I mean, you guys had been there for a long time, and
yeah. I mean, we lived in Sherwood Forest before we moved to Virginia Highlands. Mm-hmm. And we moved to Virginia Highlands because we wanted more of a walkability aspect of a neighborhood. Sherwood Forest, if you're familiar with it, mm-hmm. right in next to Ansley Park, right? Steve, I know you guys lived in Ansley Park.
Absolutely. You're circling all my neighborhoods, Ansley Park, Morningside,
Yep.
Midtown.
Yeah, exactly. So, and Virginia Highlands, we loved it. And yes, it was walkable, but our kids were grown. And in college, we were empty nesters, and we found that we were the only people on our street without kids. So mm-hmm. Virginia Highlands was an amazing community and great, but we had kind of a hard time connecting with people because we didn't have littles, and that's a big way that people connect, especially mm-hmm. through those years, is through the parents of the other kids and all that.
Yeah.
And so now you have a complete mix, people with little kids and people without, and doing all kinds of things, even in the pandemic.
I know, I'm telling you. And the pandemic's been interesting because I'm inherently an introvert, actually. People are always surprised to hear that from me, given the jobs that I've done over my career. None of them are introvert-centric jobs. But I really am. I just am an introvert, and I have met more people and felt the community stronger during the pandemic than ever. And I have been really pleasantly surprised by that. I just feel like sometimes, as we all know, if we've lived life, that, it's not the good times, the amazing times that we grow from, or we tend to gravitate towards each other. It's those times of hardship that make you reflect on your life and where you are and what you're doing with it and who you're choosing to spend your time around, right? And I've really felt such a strong closeness and sense of community during the pandemic. It's been pretty amazing. And I pointed out that I'm an introvert because like Keith is the extrovert and I'm the introvert. You know, I always say he walks out the front door and down the sidewalk. I walk out the back door and into the trails and into, you know, nature. And that's how I, you know, get my energy. And so it's been really nice for me to tap into that sense of community that is not really who I inherently have been in the past. So, yeah.
Is that like what you found is like the one of the more surprising things that you found out about Serenbe? Because, you know, I know when we all move here, you don't know everything. You're moving for whatever particular reason. And so there's always something sort of curious that you find out. What was sort of your surprise benefit?
You know, we were going so hard with all the things when we lived in the city. But it's just like you're normal. You have no idea because it's just what you do. You get up in the morning and you move through the process of your day, and you really don't slow down or take the time to realize, is this really the best thing for me? Am I really living a life that I want to live? Or am I just moving through the motions, right? And I think that moving here and allowing ourselves to slow down and get comfortable and used to that, because there is a little bit of a grace period there. Like you got to give yourself some time when you move here, I feel like, at least for us, to get used to not looking for stimulation and interaction and something to do every minute of your waking day. Like that's how we're programmed these days, I feel like. And, you know, I always thought, I'm not necessarily like that, you know, especially, I was always comparing myself to Keith. He's a little high strung. So, you know, it just allows you the time and the space to slow down again. I can't say it enough. And I can't, especially with him, he's changed. Like it has changed both of us moving here. It is changed. He's a different person, happier, more at peace, more content with life and the slow pace of it.
And when I see him walk out the door down the street to the Daisy, he's in many conversations, so he finds plenty of things to fill those gaps.
Yes, he does, Steve. I welcome it, especially during pandemic. Go find some people to talk to. Wear your mask. Yeah, no. So, yeah, he's more of a social butterfly than I am, but he's kind of moved more towards the center. And he's also a little bit of an introvert, way more of an introvert than he's ever been. But I think that comes with finding inner peace and being okay with just being by himself. And I don't know that he was ever okay with that because just the stress of the job and always being on the go and travel and, you know, just that phase of life that doesn't allow for much slowing down. So.
And then you decided to actually bring some of your profession right here to Serenbe.
Well, I did. Segueing into that, which is a story in and of itself. So when we moved here in July of 2017, I was still flying for Delta. When we moved here, I think it was 2 weeks after we moved here, I remember getting off a 3-day trip and driving home on a Sunday evening. I had been working for the past month through bouts of bronchitis that, you know, stemmed from a cold that turned into a double ear infection. And I was just working through it, you know, and And I remember driving home that Sunday evening. I had literally lost my hearing to both of my ears. And I was just driving home, crying, feeling so sorry for myself. And also so sick, so sick. And I got home and I went to the doctor the next day, who basically said, you can't do this. You're going to lose your hearing. And long story short, with all that, many tests done, I was basically allergic to the job, allergic to dust and dander, also known as hotel rooms, and allergic to recirculated air, also known as a tube that flies through the air, right?
Right.
So I was forced to not do that job anymore. And I probably would have just kept going with it if I hadn't have been forced to stop it. Yet another little push from the universe, if you will. So I had always wanted to get certified to teach yoga. And actually, when I started with Delta, it was either going to be Delta or go get my yoga teaching certification. Which path am I going to go down first? And the Delta thing happened first. And so I just went there. And so when that career path, if you will, ended, I knew exactly where I wanted to go get certified, exactly what kind of certification. And that certification started like a month from then. So I just went for it and came back the end of 2017. I mean, this is a short window, like stopped with Delta, September, went away in October to Costa Rica, got certified back in basically December, began teaching at the studio that was already here that Garni had already brought to Serenbe, and started teaching there in January. And so, how I even started down the road of yoga, I mean, just pushes and nudges from life,
Right. And that little studio was how many square feet? Like, it was such a sweet little, we would pack them in there. I mean, it was great. It was, we had something and we were really happy about that.
Yes. I say it's such a sweet, cute little postage stamp.
Exactly.
It was 700. 300 square feet.
I think it was tinier. Yeah, it was tiny.
200. I'm getting the current studio, and that one, the numbers. No, it was tiny. I mean, maybe 200 square feet in this practice space. But it was something, and super happy to have that. Actually, when we moved here, it was here. It had just opened when we were trying to make the decision to move here or not. And the fact that there was a yoga studio here was part of our thought processes behind, okay, what does the city have that here doesn't have, and vice versa, right? So that was a big part of it. My husband, Keith, also practiced yoga. So
Garni was always looking like, okay, what did she want to be doing that we didn't have here that she also knew people would want? And so when that space became available, I think she sort of jumped on it and said, well, if nobody else is going to open it, I will. But that wasn't her dream. It was more of an ends to a means, or a means to an end. So tell me though, how did you, because you took it over, you basically took it over from her and it was yours, but then Steve decided to build a building in Motto, and tell me about how that whole thing happened.
Yeah. So I remember Garni's, hey, you want to grab coffee at the Daisy?
Dangerous. Don't grab coffee with Garni unless you're going to own something.
Hear those words, what's going on. No. So she was actually, we talked about the yoga studio, but also she was asking me about what I thought about a Peloton studio here. And we were kind of talking about that. And I said, Garni, if you want me to take over the yoga studio, I'm happy to do that. This is all I'm doing now.
Mm-hmm.
And still brand new to Serenbe, still in the mode of, this isn't enough. I need more to do, as my job,
Mm-hmm.
and she was totally open to it. I didn't know if she would be cool with that or not, but she was totally open to it. And, so we were there for a year and a half, building community, right? It takes a lot to build, right, Steve? A community out here.
It's amazing. Everyone shows up. You just lay it out.
If you build it, they will come. Right?
That's right.
Yeah. So, and then, the plans for One Motto were coming to the table, and the idea that all of the wellness offerings would be under one roof in this first commercial only space, I believe, Steve, if that's.
Yes, well, the corner of the hill is mixed use with restaurants and offices, and so this was the major one. This is the first major, real 3-story Class A office building.
Yeah. So we were like, we're in. I mean, the opportunity to build a yoga studio from ground up as an intentional yoga studio space, and then instead of taking a space and turning whatever it was into, a yoga studio, I feel like that's a pretty cool, chance to be able to do that.
And what a beautiful job you did. Share with everyone listening some of the things you've included.
Yeah. So our new space is definitely inspired by nature. One of the kind of things that we're known for is the herringbone, bamboo, gray floors that we lay down in the space. So that's almost like the main feature of the studio. And there's lots of natural wood and lots of plants, of course, inside. But the offerings that we have, a little bit of everything, including aerial, including heated power classes, some nice gentle yoga classes, meditations. Restorative is very popular here. Yoga Nidra. I mean, listen, you name it. I try to offer it, because my whole thought process behind that was people are moving here from cities a lot of times, and cities where they have a boutique yoga studio on every corner, right? So pick the flavor of yoga you want to do that day. Within a 1-mile radius, typically, you have places to go for that. Here, it's a little different. So I just try to offer all of those types of classes that people were taking in wherever the place that they moved, whatever city they moved here from, so that everybody can kind of maybe find something that they connect with. And of course, mat Pilates as well that we do in the studio. So we're continuing to expound on the offerings and moving some stuff outdoors and taking advantage of the beautiful nature that surrounds us here. So, yeah.
And you guys had to pivot quite a bit with virtual, with COVID, but now you're back in the space with limited people and all the protocols and stuff. But tell us about the yoga that gets probably the most press for you and the most interest that we all kind of like chuckle at. But it is sold out for months ahead. And it's called goat yoga. And you started doing that, I think, when the old studio was around still, right? You got the goats.
I did.
Tell us, how did that happen? Was that also something that you and Garni kind of thought up, or was that something you had dreamed of doing? Or because it's such a wild concept and it's so successful, and people just, can't quite figure it out until you do it. And it's so fabulous.
That's thanks. And don't get me wrong, I laugh at myself like what am I doing? Like,
what are goats?
No, so I did grow up on a farm, full disclosure, in the South. So I am familiar with animals and I love animals and farm animals. We did not have goats, but so a little known fact, maybe, goat yoga was part of my business model when we made a decision, to kind of take over the yoga studio. Like, how am I going to have a yoga studio off the grid in the middle of nowhere without the huge population of people that most studios in big cities have? How is this thing going to thrive, right? And so, of course, goat yoga, I did not come up with it, by the way, I did not invent it. But it was out there, and I saw it and I was like, man, that's kind of on brand for Serenbe, So I sent Garni a text, and I was like, hey, Garni, what do you think? I'm thinking about bringing goat yoga into Serenbe. And Garni said, I've been waiting on someone to say those words. Yes. So it was just all downhill from there. I got a herd of rescue Nigerian dwarf goats from a farm in North Georgia. I got them as babies, bottle fed them, and we just started rolling with it. And 4 years later, we're about to begin the 4th season of goat yoga here at Serenbe. Can you believe it?
What?
I know.
Really? This is
March 20th begins the 4th
way
of goat yoga.
Why?
And it continues to be, I continue to be
I know. We're
in awe, I guess, of this crazy thing. But you know what? I get to make people laugh and forget their worries for an hour and 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. I will not take all the credit. My goats do. Okay. So my goats get to, just bring joy in people's life. And I really do see a change from the time people show up to the time people leave. And I think that it's not the yoga. It's getting outdoors, getting up close and personal with animals, mm-hmm. and feeling the joy of it all. Yeah. So.
No, it's amazing. And it's like, we are desperate for that connection. And, that's why we have dogs and cats and everything, but to be connected to sort of, I don't know, like a farm animal or an animal that you're just not used to, having in your day-to-day life. It's so incredible. And we've had so many people, like, how many times am I calling you, right? Heather, I have Danny Sayo from Naturally Magazine would like to do goat, like all these press people want to come do goat yoga. And we sort of joke that it's the goat yoga built the studio.
You're so right. I mean, but really, it's true. It really is. And, rolling into the next year, and especially during times of pandemic, it's outdoors. Mm-hmm. It's something you can do and abide by all the safetiness that you want to feel in the world today, right? Mm-hmm. We're going to start, I think, adding some things to it, like maybe a little sunset cocktails and cuddles happy hour.
Ooh, yeah, I love that.
No goat yoga involved, just, being surrounded by these sweet little goats who all they want to do is love on you and visit with you. They're so social.
Yeah, they're so cute.
And have a nice cocktail and watch the sunset. We're going to start maybe doing some things like that, rolling into the next year.
I think so. Well, and tell us, because I know it's seasonal. So the goats get a break during the winter.
They do.
But they're about to come back. Like right now, we're recording this in the middle of February. When do they come back, Heather?
Yeah. So we begin 2021, March 20th. This is Saturday.
Okay.
So that'll begin the next season. We run through spring, summer, and fall into the end of October, which is our last classes. We do some privates like during the off season, but the weather can be so unpredictable that a lot of times it makes it a little difficult. But so it's perfect weather during those times to be outdoors and do a little bit of yoga. So,
well, and we should let people know, like, this book's up. And so it can book out 2 months ahead.
Yeah. I think the first, at least the first 4 classes are already sold out. So it's, I feel that this year, I'm scared to say it. I think it's going to be even busier. I really do. And I know that people are traveling from 2 hours up to 2 hours to come here to do goat yoga. And then they discover Serenbe.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't that funny, Steve?
I know.
Like,
That's great.
oh,
How it happened.
yeah. And then, I am, I am an advocate. I send them away and I tell them, go check out the farmer's market. It's live music, amazing vibe going on. Go check that out. Go eat lunch at one of the amazing restaurants here. Hit the trails, get lost, take the time to just wander the trails, the labyrinth, the waterfall. It's just like, I plan their itinerary. People are always emailing me, hey, we're coming. What else should we do? I'm sending people Serenbe itineraries to fill out their days after goat yoga here. So much.
Sounds like it's time to get another herd.
Oh, Steve.
Ooh.
I'll let you help me take care of those little guys, and then let's see what you say.
Well, what else do you have planned for this year? I love that it's coming back. I mean, you have such amazing stuff at the studio, and we'll put a link to both in the show notes. Anything else that's going to be new at the studio? I know you've been doing some teacher training, which has been amazing. Stevie, who's one of our producers and editors on the podcast, is now a yogi. She works with you, which is amazing. What other plans do you have for yoga this year?
So this year, a lot, but I really plan on, of course, we're going to keep rolling with our limited size in-studio offerings. We'll always have that, right? Of course, but especially during the nice months, I would love, I have many plans for lots of amazing outdoor yoga experiences. I am right now getting certified for, to teach sound baths, which is with the bowls and all the things. And we've done some sound baths in the studio, but I think it would be amazing to do one like outside, and some yoga nidra at night under the stars. That's sleep yoga. I mean, just getting outside and taking advantage of the beauty here, and taking some of the yoga outside. And
that sounds great.
Yeah.
And anybody can come. You don't have to be a member of the studio. You can come for the day and just pop into a class, sign up on I think you use the Tula app.
I do. We use the Tula app. You do have to pre-register for things. That hasn't always been the case, but especially right now with limited class sizes, pre-registration is required.
Yeah.
But yeah, all the details, any questions, everything's located on our website. I hope it's pretty intuitive and easy to find information. If anybody does have any questions, my email is on there, contact information, just reach out.
On there for you.
So,
any last thoughts for our listeners about, you want to tell them anything besides, of course, they need to come to yoga, but like,
I get asked this question often, what is this place? by people, and we all get that too, right? Not just me. And I also, once people are here, they say, it feels different here. What is it? What is this feeling? And I have been really trying to come up with the right words for it in the last 4 years, almost since we've, lived here. And it's just this immense peace and connection with nature that it's different here. You really can feel it here. So I just encourage people to just come out, spend a day, wander the trails, take advantage of all the amazing wellness offerings that there are here.
Well, and I think you mentioned you came from small town in rural Georgia.
Yep.
And we've gotten away from that so much that we don't know what it feels like. And Serenbe is just a place that connects you to nature and people. But we haven't been building places where that happens. And it's story after story like yours that talks about being in the middle of it and yet isolated.
Exactly. You can really feel the intention of this place here, I guess, is the best way I know how put it into words.
It's pulled us all in, including us initially. It's something about the nature in the spa that really pulls people in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you, Steve.
Well, we're just love having you all here, and now that you've brought the yoga, and what an addition that's been.
Yeah.
I know that on the webpage or on the podcast, there'll be pictures of your studio, and it is just a beautiful studio.
It is beautiful, the light.
Thank you.
Well, and we're so lucky to have you, Heather, because you add to the community. It's like every single person who comes in is, just another piece of light that adds. So thank you,
Monica. I really appreciate it. It's truly a blessing to be here, to live and work here.
Thank you for being on today. Thank you for speaking with us, and let's all go do some goat yoga.
Go do some yoga, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Serenbe Stories. New episodes are available on Mondays. Please subscribe and leave us a review. And visit our website to learn more about guests, episodes, and everything Serenbe at serenbestories.com. This episode is supported by the Inn at Serenbe, nestled in the rolling countryside of the bucolic community of Serenbe, where guests can walk on the 15 miles of private trails through preserved forest land, the wildflower meadow, and the animal village. Relax at the pool, hot tub, or in rocking chairs on a wraparound porch. Play on the croquet lawn, grab a canoe, or jump on the in-ground trampoline. Connect with nature and each other, all while staying in a luxurious space at the Inn at Serenbe. Book your stay today at serenbeinn.com, SERENBEINN.com.